Alright. 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to a slightly fragmented edition of Comics Should Smell Good. We've had a slight issue with our technical monkey. The camera has been broken into 3 pieces. We will each be filming a segment to bring you what we think are the best comics of the week, and you can vote on our website for which one's better. It's gonna be mine, just so you know. I'm starting off here with one of many Marvel annuals this week, Uncanny X-Men Annual #1 by Brian Michael Bendis and Andre Sorrentino, fresh off of Green Arrow with Jeff Lemire. This follows up on what exactly happened to Tempest, Ava Bell, during that one issue of Uncanny X-Men where she disappeared during a training session in the Savage Land, and came back a few years older and slightly more weathered. Also picking up on one of Bendis' lingering plot threads from years and years of his Marvel work, the mysterious tripods that have been showing up in various future shots in each of his books. Avengers, X-Men, lots of things. With special guest appearances because it's a time travel story by Rawhide Kid and Killraven. Because, you know, we just need more Killraven in our lives. And from Image, we have the 6th issue of Southern Bastards by Jason Aaron and Jason Latour. This is continuing the flashback to Coach Boss's early adolescence, struggling to get on the football team. Because, you know, nothing makes a sympathetic bad guy than being bad at sports, I guess. I don't know. I don't relate to it a ton, but I don't want to relate to Coach Boss because he is a terrible, terrible human being. But it is a hell of a lot of fun to read about. And back to the Marvel side of things. The 3rd issue of the Spider-Verse proper in Amazing Spider-Man #11, still drawn by Oliver Coipel, and yes, he is still completely killing it. This sees just pretty much the furthering of the conflict between the Legion of Spiders and the Inheritors, as they're called, Morland's freaky multiverse vampire family. And I just gotta say, if you're a fan of the 60s Spider-Man cartoon like I am, this is gonna make you real happy. Spider-Man also has an annual out today as well. And jumping over to a publisher whom I don't really talk about, let's say, ever, we have the 1st issue of Valiant's The Valiant. Ooh, this is written by Jeff Lemire and Matt Kindt, probably 2 of the best non-superhero writers in comics these days, who recently, you know, have basically only been writing superhero comics. Teaming up with Paulo Rivera, who is probably like the best cover artist working in comics right now, whose name isn't Alex Ross. This tells the story of the Eternal Warrior's eternal struggle against the Eternal Nemesis. How many times am I going to say Eternal? A lot. And basically the latest iteration of his struggle against this nemesis, every time he has to protect and fails to protect this timeline or this time period's geomancer, and each loss has brought about a terrible period of darkness and tragedy. And this sees both him and Bloodshot and Archer, or is that Armstrong? I don't know, whichever one is a huge immortal and a hobo, teaming up with Harbinger's Geomancer, of course. And this has beautiful art, because Paulo Rivera is pretty much untouchable these days. Really surprise hit there for me. And lastly, we have the Guardians of the Galaxy Annual from Marvel, entirely drawn by Frank Cho. All of it. There's space, there's Skrulls, there's Nick Fury, there's lots of Nick Furies. It's kind of weird, but it's kind of great. And, since Rocket Raccoon is in this book, we finally get Frank Cho drawing more funny animals, which hasn't happened since, like, whenever the last time Liberty Meadows came out with. Like, what, a decade ago? I don't know. All I do know is that there are plenty of great comics in the store this week, and you should stop by. Thanks for watching.
3, 2, 1, you're on.
That's right, this is Casey, the most popular member of Comics Should Smell Good, obviously. I don't care what the legions of Morgan fans, are talking about or whatever. Morgan's like, oh, my comics should be... No. you all know that I have better comic taste, and whatever comic taste Morgan has, he got from me, so it doesn't really matter. So, we're going to start this week... Don't give me that face. We're going to start this week off with Supreme, Blue Rose, number 5. This is the last one of the first arc. This is Warren Ellis and Tula Lotte's reinterpretation of, yes, Rob Liefeld's Supreme. You know, big white dude, huge white costume, big red kind of upside-down triangle thing, kind of like Superman. Yes. This book, though, is like, take that, throw it on its side, drop some weird Kool-Aid in its, or acid in its Kool-Aid, and boom. You've got this thing that is just super psychedelic. It's totally crazy, all about, like, worlds colliding, and this dude Darius Dax who's searching for, like, evil artifacts and stuff, and this woman that has been hired to help him find them, and she kind of discovers this evil conspiracy. But yes, this is really great last issue of the arc. Some very glamorous fabulousness from DC Comics this week. Batgirl number 37, right? Yeah. Babstar, Brendan Fletcher, and Cameron Stewart continue their new run on what has become my pretty much favorite DC comic, but that isn't really hard to do because I read 2 DC comics. So, but this one has not only a soundtrack to start with, but the glam rock doppelganger whole crew of villains. And, you know, girls clearly just want to have fun and rob things and whatnot, but, you know, Batgirl's going to put a kibosh on that because, you know, Barbara Gordon, she's like, no. And The Punisher from Marvel, written by Nathan Edmondson and fill-in art by local artist Justin Norman, otherwise known as Moritat. There is no Punisher in this comic, but that's okay, because it's just a lot of people with guns and gear and cool tech and bursting through windows and lots of shooting. It's a Punisher comic. You open it up, and there's people getting shot on, like, every page. That's what I want. Really excited to see Justin doing some work. This stuff looks great. Got really cool, nice guns and everything. I mean, this is really badass. But yeah, Mitch Gerard's clearly needed a break, but definitely pick up The Punisher. And my final pick this week, Bitch Planet. That's right, Kelly Sue DeConnick, Valentine DeLandro. Not like you haven't heard about this, not like how this hasn't been on Twitter everywhere and every other social media thing for the past few months, but the first issue is here. It's got a really cool, like, fake ad type of thing on the back, 3 covers, and one by Jamie McKelvey, the others are this one, one's a display copy, but basically, this is women in prison in space. You might have remembered Alex DeCampi doing Grindhouse, Prison Ship Antares, maybe, you know, about a year ago, a little less. And we wanted more of that, and we got more, but not by Alex DeCampi, but that's okay. This one is really going to be big. This is going to be one of those that, you know, you might want to buy 2. It's going to be, you know, very pricey, that type of deal. But we got a bunch of them, and you should come in and get your bitch on. I just love that I can just say bitch, like Bitch Planet, like whatever. I guess that's okay now. Anyway.
No, that's not okay.
Aw. Anyway, yeah, so that's about it. And I mean, Will's gonna have to try to do better than both of us, but you know, it's just some Marvel stuff, so whatever. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.
And welcome to the Zanadu Attic here. I'm with a spectacular, uncanny, astonishing X-Men artifact from back in the day. And I'm here with my picks, so I hope you guys will vote for me, Will from comicsmen.com, the guy who brings you, they call me the Professor of Marvel. But I love my Image, I love my DC, but yes, I have mutants in my genes. So let's start it off with a brand new Spider-Man the X-Men #1. Now, what's going on with this? So as you may have heard, Logan died this year, and Peter Parker made a promise to him. And so for that reason, Peter Parker is now a member of the Jean Grey School. He's up in Westchester, you know, when he's not doing stuff in New York City and all over the planet. But anyway, there's a big conspiracy within the Jean Grey School, and it takes a non-mutant to figure out what's going on with the mutants, and not all the mutants are welcoming Peter Parker. Plus, a really strange comeback. Sauron, who's a great villain, but Stegron, the super dinosaur guy, is in here too. Plus, all the quirky kind of new favorites from the Jason Aaron era, like Shark Girl and all those fun ones, and of course we have the Bamps in there as well. So Spider-Man the X-Men #1, brand new this week. And you know, some of these have been really awesome. After the death of Wolverine, there's been Logan Legacy, and it tells kind of what happened in the aftermath on people like X-23 and Doc and Sabretooth. This is Mystique's time. Now, you know, they've had a weird love-hate relationship over the years, but this all ties into Destiny, remember her from back in the day, and just spectacular arc by guest artist Andy Clark. Just really cool. But what is the destiny, and how is this going to lead up to the new Wolverine series starring all these characters in 2015? This feels new, but it's so nostalgic. I am loving Chris Claremont and Todd Knock on the Nightcrawler solo series. When you look at it, it feels new and different, but at the same time, it feels like you're back in the glory days of Excalibur, if you remember that, the Alan Davis Claremont days, with Kitty Pryde. And but you know, Nightcrawler's on his own. He's trying to figure out what's going on. There's a mystery at the school, and it all ties back to probably, you know, like Magneto is like the ultimate X-Men villain, but the Shadow King is kind of like Claremont's. I don't know, it's Chris Claremont's just, I think it's his favorite villain to play with, and he's really good at doing it. And so you've got Nightcrawler versus all these X-Men under the influence of the Shadow King. Can he pull it through? He'll do it beautifully with his spectacular art. And Axis marches on. This is the third and final act of the Axis arc. As you know, there was this weird spell, the inversion spell that they did to stop the Red Skull, who had the powers of Professor X. So now you have some X-Men. They're kind of inverted. They're wonky, and they've allied themselves with Apocalypse. If you believe it or not, they're trying to take over Manhattan. And you have some Avengers who are kind of inverted, and they're kind of being bad guys now. They're not really being heroes. But luckily, we have some villains who've been inverted, and they're stepped up. Like you've got Sabretooth and Magneto and Loki and all these other heroes stepping up to save the day. But the thing about it is, can you really trust them? Can you really rely on them to do it? And lots of really weird things going on with the inversion. And even there's Deadpool. How's he going to get, he's standing up against Apocalypse. The guy's pretty daring. So the final act, how can they make things right? And who betrayed the Avengers and let Red Skull loose? He's loose somewhere. They still haven't really figured that out yet. And finally, my hardcover, I have a hardcover pick of the week. Superman Unchained. This is the mighty Scott Snyder of Batman and Jim Lee, who needs an introduction. In fact, there's his handiwork right there. So, but this is the big hardcover collection of Superman Unchained. It's the 9-part story. It took a while for the whole thing to get through. Hey, these guys are masters, so we'll let it. It was worth the wait each issue, but the whole idea is the government has their own kind of Superman-type guy called the Wraith. And first, him and Clark kind of bond. They kind of figure out there's this big conspiracy. There's military, the military-industrial complex, as you know. But it's really kind of, I love the way Snyder and Jim Lee portrayed every character. They knocked it out of the park. Lois Lane is awesome. There's an amazing fight in the Batcave between one of the bad guys and Batman and Wonder Woman and Superman. It's just pretty mind-blowing, awesome fighting and action and drama and intrigue. Superman Unchained, it's all right here. This to me is going to be one of the great Superman tales you remember. So that's all from me this week. Please vote for Will. And I guess I'll say good luck to my competitors, because I'm sure they've got some good picks as well. See you next time.